Nigel Marvin, a time-traveling zoologist and a man who has had his fair share of close scrapes with dinosaurs. But the Earth has witnessed more terrible monsters than these. What Nigel is about to learn about prehistory is that no matter how bad things get on land, the one thing you should never, ever do is get in the water. In this latest adventure, Nigel will be traveling back and forth through prehistory to visit 7 different time zones and dive in the 7 deadliest seas ever. Each sea he visits will be more dangerous than the last, with bigger, nastier predators. Creatures it's hard to believe once lived on this planet. And of course, he's saving the worst till last. Nigel's first stop in this perilous navigation through time is a period called the Ordovician. To get back there from the 21st century, you have to go unbelievably far back in time. Back before the Ice Age, before the first humans. Before even the dinosaurs. The Ordovician is a mind-boggling 450 million years ago, so far back that plants have yet to evolve. It's a world ruled by creepy crawlies and fantastically unsuited to humankind.
The atmosphere at this time, it's atrocious. Much less oxygen and much more carbon dioxide than I'm used to. Without this special air mix, I'd really feel sick and get bad headaches. Just look around and you can see why the atmosphere is so different. There's no life at all on the land. There's no insects in the air. There's not even worms in the ground. And most crucially of all, there's no plants. There's not a speck of green. So the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it's not being absorbed by them, and they're not boosting the atmosphere with oxygen. But it's a different story out there in the sea. There's been life there for hundreds of millions of years. And you can take it from me, evolution has produced some real monsters.
And now it was time to find one. First, some bait. In the Ordovician, that's the easy bit. With no land animals to scavenge along the beach, anything the sea spits up just lies here rotting.
An armour-plated fish.
Now into shallow water to flush out one unpleasant little critter that I was going to be seeing a lot of.
A sea scorpion, one of the most grotesque of predators. And look at that, look at the tail curling. That's how they get their name, but there's no venom in there, like their namesakes on the land. And you've got to be careful of those formidable pincers at the front. Oh.
scorpion gave me a graphic demonstration of just how formidable its claws are. It literally shredded the bait at my feet before moving on to bigger prey.
Ah!
You all right, Nigel?
Slash my leg. It's another scar for the collection. As I found out, those sea scorpions are pretty fearsome. But there's much bigger sea monsters out there. The sea scorpions, they're not the top predators. But to see the real big ones, I need a little more than a fish on a stick. I'm going to try with this. It looks a bit like a giant woodlouse, but of course it's a trilobite. There's no relatives of this alive in the 21st century. There's up to 15,000 species. They range in size from a really tiny one, a millimetre in length, to this big one. This is about as big as they get. And I need one like this because I'm going to use this like a fisherman with a fly, and I'm going to try to attract a much bigger catch. And all I need to do is to insert this camera into the carcass, and if you're squeamish, look away now, because what I've got to do is pop out the eye of this trilobite. There we go. Oh. There's so many surprises here. The sun's setting, the evening's come, and it's been so quick, the day's flown by. That's because I forgot, in Ordovician times, the Earth's spinning much faster, and that means that it's a 21-hour day, not 24 hours. So a watch like this, it's useless here. And look at that. It's going to be dark very soon, and we can't do anything more today. No. Anything you do, you try to do it, you know, you try to... Today, I'm hoping to dive with a sea monster. There's a special air mix in here. If I breathe this Ordovician air at pressure under the water, I'd become unconscious. So this is crucial for me. I also need this. This is a bit before its time. It's a bite-proof shark suit. And of course, sharks haven't evolved yet. But I'm hoping this will give me protection from those vicious sea scorpions.
I knew the bigger predators would be out in deeper water, so I ventured out into the middle of the bay.
Very appetizing, but for the predators around here, this should be a tasty snack. And I'm hoping that camera is going to catch the moment when a monstrous predator tries to snaffle this up. Something approaching. It's a sea scorpion. They obviously like trilobites. Come on, let go.
It was late afternoon before I got a decent bite.
There's something interesting there, and it is much bigger than a sea scorpion. It's taken the camera. That's the end of the trilobite cam. I have got to see what that is. I don't know what's happened here, but if I follow the line, I should be able to find the predator. The camera's not at the end, which probably means that the predator isn't far away. This is intriguing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they're all gathering, but first there was one sea scorpion, then there was another, then another, then another. And now they are all around me. There's a whole carpet of them moving along the sea floor. They're whizzing past my head. They're all heading in one direction. And there it is. It's an orthocone. That is the biggest predator that the world has seen up until this time. He sensed me here. Getting my heart hammering. I don't want to be grabbed by those tentacles, but those simple eyes, they should shun the light. So all I can do is start flashing my light, and maybe that will discourage him. And now he's gone. I can't see where he is. There's still the sea scorpions now. Ah! There's the orthocone. And it's spotted one of the sea scorpions. They're dragged back to the mouth where there's a horny beak. Oh, you can hear it. I can actually hear it under the water. Hear the crunching sounds as the sea scorpions are crushed by the beak. These orthocones probably spend a lot of time in deep water. Light doesn't penetrate too well down there, so the eyes don't work very well, and they rely on another sense. They will actually smell out their prey and then crush them to bits. The orthocone, that really is the top predator of Ordovician times. It's not swimming very fast. If I can catch up. There. Yes! Right onto the tip of the shell. It's a wonderful texture. And I am hitching a ride on the back of an orthocone. Hey!
As it got gloomier, I realised the orthocone was dragging me deeper. Time to get off.
Thanks, orthocone. Thanks for the ride. Go on. Get off! This is what they were doing. I saw them moving in the shallows, moving towards the shore, and this is a mass spawning. It's a full moon at the moment. This is the highest tide, and they're laying their eggs in the sand. The eggs will be protected. Then when the next high tide comes in about a month or so, the young larvae will hatch and be taken back out to sea. And some of these sea scorpions, they're going to stay around here until the eggs hatch. Fossils have been found with baby sea scorpions inside the stomachs of the big ones, and that's what they do. They wait around here and feed on the babies as they hatch on the next high tide.
The Ordovician, then, isn't exactly a picnic. Anywhere the air gives you a headache and you can't go swimming without a chainmail suit probably isn't going to take off as a holiday destination. But prehistory has worse still to offer. The next deadly sea is the Triassic. To get there, Nigel has to travel halfway back to the 21st century to 230 million years BC. It's a time when reptiles are taking over the oceans and the first dinosaurs are only just appearing.
The Triassic is a crucial time for marine life. Something new's happened. The fish or the mammals, they're not the most ferocious animals out there. This sea is dominated by a group that used to just live on the land, the reptiles.
Reptiles dominate everywhere right now. Winged reptiles, the pterosaurs, rule the skies. And the future lords of the land, the dinosaurs, have just evolved. But they're not much to look at yet. Of course, I was here to explore life in the sea, home to the largest Triassic reptiles of them all. Fortunately, sea reptiles are easy enough to spot because they have to come up for air. My first sighting was a nothosaur.
The nothosaurs, they could be a bit nippy, but there's bigger reptiles down there that could easily kill a person. So this is my insurance policy, an electric prod. If they come too close, this should deter them. There's not just one nothosaur, there's a pair of them. And they're inquisitive, coming closer and closer, they're so curious. But I'm the first human that they've seen. You don't know how they're going to react. And I'm glad I've got this electric prod in case they become just too inquisitive. But at the moment they're just curious, circling around me. They've got a mouthful of teeth like razors, they're interlocking. That would seem to me to be the perfect fish trap, and they certainly move fast enough to catch the fish that are around here. Wow! There's one coming close now, and I'm going to try something. Like with alligators, there's only one safe way to hold a nothosaur, and that's round the jaws. Hey! Wow! A prehistoric ride with a nothosaur. They can close those jaws with tremendous force, but the muscles that open them, they are really weak. But nothosaurs, like all sea reptiles, they've got to go up to the surface to breathe. I can't hold him for too long. I'm going to let him go now. Go on, boy, off you go. Hiding here, this isn't dangerous, but it's surely one of the most preposterous reptiles ever. Tanystropheus. Great long neck, great long tail, there's hardly any body at all. That long neck is perfect for an ambush predator. And what it probably does is sweep that neck through the water, sweep it through a shoal of fish. dropped its tail. This has happened to me many times when I was a little kid catching lizards. They do this as well. And this is an insurance policy. If they're attacked by a predator, the predator's distracted by the tail and the creature can escape. And like lizards, he'll grow the tail again. And it shouldn't do him much harm. Look, he's swimming away perfectly there. Golly, this tail is spasming so much. I can hardly hold on to it. Wow, where did that come from? I think it's a Symbospondylus, one of that great group of marine reptiles, the ichthyosaurs. He's a primitive member of the group, but they're going to evolve into a whole variety of forms. They'll be around for about another 100 million years. But he's coming a bit too close. And that slow movement, that's deceiving. With one lash of that tail, they can have really great bursts of speed. God, my heart's hammering. That lunge at me, that was a warning shot. That's really up the ante on this dive. I need the electric prod now. And he's coming again. He's coming in again. And I'm going to use it. What a spectacular reptile.
Two seas down, 5 to go. The next encounter takes Nigel back deeper into the past to meet the armoured fish of the Devonian. Predators that are quite literally as hard as nails.
I'm using the time map to get my head round where I've been. These spans of time are so immense. My first adventure, I went all the way back in time 450 million years ago to ride an orthocone and tussle with those sea scorpions. My second dive, that was 230 million years before the present day. That was with those bizarre sea reptiles. We're now here 360 million years ago. Welcome to the age of giant armoured fish.
Unbelievable.
How was the dive, Mike?
Oh, outstanding.
Have you got one? Did you see one?
I saw it. It came so close.
I'll get this in the machine.
Okay.
Cameraman Mike, he did a reconnaissance dive just to see what was around, and from what he's saying, we've actually struck gold on the first dive. Exactly what we came here for. Oh, that's it. Can't be anything else. A Dunkleosteus. Well done, Mike. I mean, what was it like? That's like a real Leviathan there.
My heart was in my mouth. It just took my breath away.
And that thing is over 30 feet long. Must weigh 4 or 5 tons. That's as much as 2 or 3 elephants. Let's pause it, have a look at this. Oh, what a fearsome head. And this shows the classic features of Dunkleosteus. Armour plating on the front of the body, that can be up to 2 inches thick. And look at that mouth. Those aren't teeth, those are extensions of the jaw bones. They're for shearing through the prey, and this thing has to punch through other armoured fish. And those jaws are backed up by powerful muscles at the back of the neck there. Look at that. And this is exciting. If this stays around, it's going to be my turn next, and we're going to find out how powerful those jaws actually are. Our plan was to hand feed a Dunkleosteus, and my job was to get the bait. Meanwhile, the crew was building a cage for my protection. But why was it round? Well, in the same way that a dog can't bite a beach ball, we hoped that the jaws of the Dunkleosteus would slide off these bars.
big tug.
Fortunately for me, there's plenty of life in the sea in the Devonian. Unlike on land, where as yet there are no creatures bigger than a centipede.
This is a placoderm. It's a Greek word, it means armour plating, and you can see why. This is in the same family as Dunkleosteus, and for a naturalist this is a privilege indeed. These fish were only around for 50 million years, then they became extinct. There's nothing like this around in the 21st century. I've got to bet on with the crew that the Dunkleosteus will slice through the bait if it's actually wrapped in chainmail. This is where you feel at your most vulnerable, actually swimming into the cage with a great chunk of bait. I'm in now, and it will probably take a few minutes for the trail of smell to bring in the predators, and fingers crossed we'll be able to see Dunkleosteus. Look what's arrived. This must be the most preposterous shark ever. Look at that fin on the back. Scientists call it the ironing board shark, and you can see why. Must be a male, only the males had that bizarre dorsal fin. Probably to help with mating, probably to display to females, maybe used in courtship battles between males. And these are some of the first sharks ever to evolve. And this is great for me, I am such a shark fan. But it's surreal. He's been spooked by something. It's a Dunkleosteus. It must have smelt the bait. This is what we came for. And it's coming straight towards us. See that really thick protective armour on the head there? Over 2 inches thick. Only the first third of the body's covered with that. Look at that. These fish, they've got these massive jaws with big sharp shears sticking out, and what they do is they slice them together just like scissors working. The very action of slicing them together keeps them sharp, and with that they can cut through anything. Let's see if I can win my bet. This is no fisherman's tale. This is a real monster. This is getting a little scary now. Okay. This is getting serious. They really run at the cage then. The boys over here, they've been dented. He's coming in again. He's fast this time. This is where you feel at your most vulnerable, actually swimming into the cage with a great chunk of bait. It's a Dunkleosteus. This is what we came for. Oh.
This is Nigel Marvin. He's a zoologist and an expert in tackling dangerous animals. But his latest adventure is really testing his nerve. He's left the safety of the 21st century behind and travelled back to prehistory. His mission, to visit the 7 deadliest seas of all time and to come face to face with the most terrifying sea creatures that the Earth has ever known. So far, he's experienced 3 of the deadly seas, and from here on, it's only going to get worse. He's about to meet the owner of these jaws, and worse still, the most lethal shark the world has ever seen. But only if he can escape the Devonian seas and an armoured fish called Dunkleosteus.
He's coming in again, he's fast this time. Slam the cage again. This is getting serious. He really walloped the cage. Dented the bars there. He really wants this bait.
I want to win the bet I had with the crew. This sea monster, I'm sure he can slice through chainmail. Look at that, he's coming closer. Oh, God! Nearly wrenched my arm out of the socket. And it is chomping through that, slicing through it, chainmail and all. And I have won my bet. There's a little Dunkleosteus here, right underneath me. He's looking for little tidbits. These armoured fish, they flourished for around 50 million years, then all of them became extinct. Wow! Listen to that. It makes you shudder. The big predator is crunching through that juvenile, crunching through the plates.
The Dunkleosteus was certainly showing its true form. It's not just a predator, it's a cannibal as well. And as for its table manners...
Believe it or not, this is normal behaviour. The Dunkleosteus isn't being sick, but a fish like this that feeds on armoured food needs to get rid of the indigestible bits, and it's regurgitated the bits of fish armour, and in this case the chainmail, and this is perfectly normal.
Normal for 360 million years ago. Maybe. But there's no time to rest on laurels. They've yet to reach the halfway mark in their voyage through the most perilous seas of prehistory. Ahead of them are 4 more ever deadlier encounters. Next up, our time-travelling crew heads to an era closer to the present day. In fact, it's a mere 36 million years ago, which is midway between the extinction of the dinosaurs and modern day. It's home to the meanest sea mammal that has ever lived.
This must be one of the squelchiest of habitats. Mangrove swamps, they're lush, muddy, and there's water everywhere, as far from a desert as you could imagine. But believe it or not, this will one day become the Sahara. I'm on the site of what will become Cairo, and if I stood here for 36 million years, the Egyptians would come and start building pyramids on my head.
The Eocene is the beginning of the time of mammals. They rule the earth, they rule the sea, and as I was about to find out, they even rule the bit in between.
These look really promising. Look, the feet have splayed out just like a camel's to support the weight, spread the weight so they don't sink into the sand. But it's a really curious track. Look, they're widely spaced. Most animals, when they walk, it's 1 foot in front of the other. It's almost like this animal swings the weight of its body from side to side as it's walking along. This is really weird. So it must be a big animal that waddles along. Let me see if I can... Every tracker's dream, look. A pile of fresh dung. It's so fresh you can almost feel the heat emanating off it. The Inuit, it's rumoured that they actually eat bits of dung to learn about the animals they're tracking. I'm going to give that a miss, but oh yeah, if you smell that, it's a really sweet, not too unpleasant, a sweet smell. And I think the animal I'm looking for is a fruit eater. Come on. Keep quiet. It's the only animal that waddles like that. It is a surreal creature with a funny name. It's called an Arsinoitherium. These creatures have extraordinary horns You can tell this is a male because they splay out. The females, they're much more vertical. And this is what he uses for defence and for fighting. You've got disadvantages too. Look, he's looking at me now, but he can't look because the horns are actually covering his eyes. He knows we're here, but he's not approaching or anything, not running away. He's edgy, but I really want to get a closer look. I'm going to try something, see whether he'd like to eat something from the 21st century.
Look like a rhino, but this mammal is in fact more closely related to the elephant. More surprising still is that it lives like a hippo. Arsinoitherium is a sea monster after all, well, at least an amphibious one. There's plentiful food in the mangroves for a huge vegetarian like this, but living here is difficult. A beach in the morning is a lagoon by midday. Arsinoitherium, though, is adapted to deal with the changing tides. A creature that's as happy in water as on land. In fact, probably happier. The Eocene is a momentous time for mammals. As well as amphibious species, new types have evolved which are totally adapted to life in the ocean. Here were some of them. Dorodon, a species of ancient whale. And whales were the reason I'd come here, though not for these tiddlers. I was after a far bigger, meaner whale that eats Dorodon for breakfast. It was time to find the tyrant that rules these waters. We're sailing right here in the middle of the Tethys Sea, which runs between Europe and Africa. This is a pretty unfamiliar map because it's not like this in the 21st century. This sea closes up and dries up, and we're actually sailing over what will become the Sahara Desert. And this is the monster that we're looking for. Basilosaurus. That name means king lizard, because when these fossils were first found in 1832, they were thought to be giant reptiles. But this is in fact a primitive whale. Here's an artist's impression from around 1960, and as you can see, they thought Basilosaurus were very reptilian too, just like sea serpents or even the Loch Ness Monster. And this skull is what's chilling to me. There's no whales with skulls like this in modern times. Great peg-like teeth at the front of the jaw for seizing prey. Once inside the mouth, the prey is then sliced up by these big teeth at the back, great big cusps at the top. They are for slicing through flesh. This is by far the biggest predator in Eocene seas.
Drop the anchor!
But how on earth do we find one? The configuration of the bones in the fossil skulls of Basilosaurus is really good evidence that they can hear pretty well. Modern whales, they are so noisy, and we're hoping that Basilosaurus is just the same. We've got underwater recording equipment here, and if we can eavesdrop on their conversations, we should be able to locate where the whales are. Fingers crossed on this one.
nothing. It's just shrimps and fish, isn't it? No whales there.
Nothing there.
Let's move off somewhere else.
Okay. Nigel. Oh, we've got something there.
Oh, that is spooky. It's definitely a whale.
Definitely.
And maybe we found Basilosaurus. The whale's still in the vicinity, but where is it? The trouble is, sound travels much farther and faster in water than in air, and he could be miles away. So what we need to do is try to entice him to us. That sound, that eerie sound that you're hearing, that's what we recorded earlier, that's his calls, but we're playing them right out into the ocean with a massive speaker, and hopefully he'll think there's another whale in his territory and come towards us.
Scientists have tried this with modern whales with mixed success, but it was the best hope we had of bringing in a Basilosaurus.
Getting louder, as loud as it's ever been. How long these animals are going to hang around. You've got to be fast on this one.
I had no idea what I'd find.
So this is exciting. It could come from anywhere beneath me, behind me. So I'm actually using the boat as a shield. This big shape here, it's as though there's a really massive super predator around, so they won't come in too close. They haven't got as big a brain as the modern whales. They're not such social animals, so they may treat a person as prey.
Wow! And there it was. The long streamlined shape, this had to be Basilosaurus. But it was nothing like the sea serpent of early drawings. It was a whale, but unlike any I'd seen before. It didn't have blubber. In this warm water, it didn't need it. It looked for all the world like a whale on diet pills.
And look at this thing. Compare it with the boat, that gives a great idea of scale. And he's over half the length of this 80-foot boat, 50 feet or so. And this really is a fearsome predator. I'm glad I'm next to the boat. I wouldn't fancy being in open water with this one. I wish the sound technician, I wish he'd turn this off. It's really starting to distress the whale. He's coming in close. Bitten the speaker off. It's shaking it like a terrier, shaking a rat. So we've lost our speaker, but it doesn't matter. We had a really brilliant view of a Basilosaurus.
This, though, is a world on the verge of great change. The continent of Africa is moving north towards Asia and Europe, causing this ancient seaway to disappear. Basilosaurus will disappear with it. Next in store is the Pliocene, the time when our earliest ancestors were starting to walk upright. It's surprising what lived in our seas just 4 million years ago.
We're in Peru, right on the rim of the Pacific Ocean. And living out there, there's something terrifying. So if you're afraid of sharks, you'll be a gibbering wreck when you see what we're going to try next. Look, the most famous jaws in history are great white sharks. I've swum with those in the open ocean, but they're minnows in comparison to the prehistoric shark I'm hoping to meet, Megalodon, the biggest carnivorous fish that's ever lived. That name Megalodon, what it means big tooth. And I don't think I need to explain why.
By hunting a Megalodon, we were getting into ever more dangerous waters, and caution had started to creep in amongst the crew. There was disagreement about our next course of action.
I think we should head straight out into the deep water. The weather may change. Let's look for the adults.
I think we should start with the juveniles.
We haven't got enough time to do that.
Oh, I think we should go for the smaller ones.
We couldn't be sure how Megalodon would behave. Some argued that it would be worth studying smaller, safer juveniles before risking a dive with an adult. In the end, I had to agree.
I'll do one dive with the juveniles, and then I think we ought to head out into the drop-off and try to find the adults.
With sharks, it's all about diving in the right place. Like young great whites, juvenile Megalodon tend to be in shallow water away from the adults. Partly for their own safety, but also they do prey on very different things. There shouldn't be any adults on this dive.
I'm hugging the kelp here. I don't want to be caught out in open water. Big predators, they don't like going into dense weed like this. The other thing is I'm hoping to find the creatures that juvenile Megalodon prey on. And they are the oddest of creatures. There, Odobernositops leptodon. That name is a mix of Greek and Latin, and it means the whale that walks on its teeth. And if it turns towards us, you can see why. One tusk is about 1 foot long, but on the other side, the right-hand side, look at that. It's about 3 feet long, and the males probably use those for jousting with each other in the breeding season, just like narwhals. Slurping sounds, they are superb. Flipping heck, look! Take my eyes off that. The biggest great white shark ever was just over 20 feet long. That thing, it must be just 3 years old, and that's that size already.
Just imagine diving with a full-grown Megalodon, 20 times the weight of this one. What had I let myself in for? We'd seen a juvenile Megalodon, but we hadn't yet learnt that much about them. I specifically wanted to see how they hunted. We couldn't just wait around for an attack to happen. We needed to make it happen.
This Odobernositops, it wouldn't fool you or me, but hopefully as a decoy it will fool the juvenile Megalodons. If they're anything like great whites, when they see this in silhouette at the surface, they should come up to investigate, and it will enable us to learn a bit more about them.
Our dummy didn't swim as well as an Odobernositops, but the young sharks didn't seem to be put off by that. After just 15 minutes, our onboard camera got the shock of its life.
Look at what's happened to the decoy. Did it hit it from below?
Straight up from underneath.
You can see the damage that was done here. It seems that Megalodon has one of the same hunting techniques as great white sharks. What they do, they can't afford to be injured by their prey. They sneak up from below, make a devastating attack, and the power of that big fish, well, look what it's done to this decoy. This is obviously weaker than a real animal, real sinew and muscle, so that's why it smashed it in two. But if this was a real animal, it would of course bleed to death. Then the shark would come in when it was really weak and then make the final coup de grace.
Megalodon are probably relatives of great whites, and we now knew that the juveniles attack their prey in a very similar way. But what about the adults? How did they hunt? And what does a shark over 50 feet long prey on? Leaving the juveniles behind, we took our boat a few miles offshore. It was time to meet a monster.
Anyone who's tried to get close to sharks knows this eye-watering stench. It's the smell of chum. That's a mix of fish blood, fish oil, bits of fish pieces. What we're going to do is throw that over the side. There'll be a trail of odour which will go for miles in the current. A megalodon will smell that and start zigzagging towards the boat. When it gets close, we've also got this amazing delicacy for it, a great big bag of fish chunks, and that should entice it and keep it around the boat. And if they do come, what we've got here is shark cam. There's a little camera inside this. We want to get an insight into the world of the megalodon. I've got to get close enough to attach it to the base of the massive dorsal fin of a megalodon. It won't hurt the shark. This will dissolve in a couple of days. The camera will pop up to the surface and then we'll find it and hopefully get some insight into the behaviour of the wild megalodon.
There's something to the left over there. You sure? Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
Look at that thing. It can't be anything else but an adult megalodon. It's more like a sail than a fin, and what we've got to do now is get the cage into the water.
See the blood and the fish oil leaking out of the chum bag. I need to be really prepared for this with the camera. We may only get one chance at it. Who knows how long the megalodon's going to hang around. This is scary. I'm scared. It's coming straight for the cage. Oh, my word. Nothing prepares you for this. I feel like just shooting to the surface and getting out of this cage. But I gotta pull myself together. I must admit I am really scared of this. taking a pass now where he's going to be really close. And let's see whether I can get the short cam on. Missed that time. Get the camera onto the fin. This is hopeless. This is harder than I thought. The fin is just too high. He's coming straight at the cage.
Attach the camera from the cage, so I'm going to try from this platform. The chum ball, don't put it over the side, keep your eye on the shark so you can get it in a line along here, please, and I'll be ready. Megalodon, the biggest carnivorous fish that's ever lived.
And it would be so fantastic if I could get this camera onto his back.
I'm going to try from the platform, keep the bait ball above, watch the shark, and see if you can get it in a line along here.
This is Nigel Marvin. He's a zoologist and an expert in tackling dangerous animals. But his latest adventure is really testing his nerve. He's left the safety of the 21st century behind and travelled back to prehistory. His mission, to visit the 7 deadliest seas of all time and to come face to face with the most terrifying sea creatures that the Earth has ever known. So far, he has made it through 4 prehistoric oceans, but ahead lie the 2 most dangerous, inhabited by the nastiest collection of predators that nature has yet assembled. And he still has to get past a 50-foot shark called Megalodon.
You idiot! Don't move that chum bag till you can see the shark! Winch it up quick! I'm sorry I called you an idiot. I was scared when I fell in, but
that
thanks,
was fantastic.
Mate.
Well done.
Well done. Oh. I hope we get some shots with that.
The camera was designed to break away from the shark and pop up to the surface. After a couple of days, we picked up the signal.
There it is, look, just ahead of us. Come on. We should have a precious and unique cargo. The camera seems okay, there's no damage here. A bit of shark fin. So what's happened is either rubbed this off on rocks on the bottom or something. I just hope it was on long enough to get some really great footage. We've got some. The camera's working.
This was so exciting. The camera had survived whatever ordeal the shark had put it through. We were in the Pliocene observing a day in the life of a megalodon, and if that wasn't fantastic enough, this happened.
It's a silhouette there, look. Whether it's an Odobonosatops or whatever. You see that? And this could be great if we got a kill. He's going down. He is attacking, look. Crikey! Wow. Oh, look. See that again. The footage we got with the shark cam, it's better than I could have ever hoped. It is so unique. Just watch this. The shark, it's down below, there's a shape up there. It's not an Odobonosatops. It's actually a species of whale. The shark's gone down so it can get more momentum when it attacks. It's accelerating now. And the violence of this impact, look at that. Cloud of blood, that's what knocked the camera off. And Megalodon, this is extraordinary. It's a species of shark that actually attacks living whales, and pretty big ones at that.
But even this, the ultimate shark, will be unable to defend itself from the coming ice age. As the oceans turn colder, whales with their high body fat will adapt and thrive and move up to the icy polar regions. Meanwhile, Megalodon will be forced to stay in the warmer water around the equator. Deprived of its prey, it will be starved into extinction. It's time for Nigel to leave this, the third most dangerous sea, behind. Next lies the Jurassic. To reach it, he has to travel back from 4 million to 155 million years ago. The Jurassic is right in the middle of dinosaur time, and it's home to some of the most colossal animals ever to live on land, outweighed only by the monsters that live in the water.
I've come to the Jurassic because this is a land of monstrous creatures. On the land there are giant dinosaurs, and here in the water, well, look at that. That's a shoal of Leeds-ichthys, and they are the biggest fish that have ever lived. As big as those fish are, there are predators nearly as large that attack them. And that's what I'm here for, to see some of the most massive marine reptiles that have ever lived. And they must be 75 or 80 feet long. Of giants are sustained by the tiniest creatures that live in the sea. What they do is they filter out any tiny plankton, any small animals floating in the ocean. At this time of year, though, they're living on their fat reserves, and that really sorts out the healthy fish from the sick ones. You can see over there, there's one that can't quite keep up with the shoal that's just at the edge there. Already it's attracting some of the smaller predators in these Jurassic seas. And there, over there, Metriorhynchus, you just wouldn't expect that. It's a kind of marine crocodile. It's totally adapted for a life in the sea. Great paddle-like feet, nothing like modern crocs. Look at the tail, there's no armour plating there. This creature has sacrificed defence for speed. Wait, that's just a bit close. Get away. Look at that, below me. It's a most bizarre shark called Hippodus. see those strange horns on the top of its head, and it's going into feast now. Look at it twisting to get a chunk of flesh. And oh, you feel sorry for the lead ichthyes, they're actually eating it alive. Pretty unnerving being here right next to the shoal. You've got to worry about sharks, marine crocodiles, and I haven't even seen the really massive reptile I've come here for.
But I wouldn't have long to wait.
No large predators on the first dive, but there's certainly potential prey. This is the injured lead ichthyes that we saw. We're tracking it with an acoustic tracking device, sending sound into the water. It's bouncing back off the injured fish. Not moving very fast, but we need to move to starboard now.
Okay.
Captain. As we saw on the dive, the injured lead ichthyes, it's already drawing in crocodiles and sharks. And before long, something much bigger, it's bound to come in.
This is it. Look, 4 flippers, that short compact neck. It's approaching the lead ichthyes, it's nearly as big. That is colossal, and I'm sure this is Lipleurodon. It's the biggest carnivorous reptile ever, and it is closing down on the lead ichthyes. We've got to get this.
Peter, can you get the pole can, mate? Quick as you can. It's pretty deep. I'll go and look on the monitor, see if I can guide you.
Move to the left a bit, mate.
Just a bit further, a bit deeper.
Just as I thought, it's a Lipleurodon. Look at those flippers. It's really had a go at the lead ichthyes. It's not moving a fin. It must be dead now. We've scared it. It's disappearing into the murk, Pete. It's just fantastic. Well done, mate.
Those Lipleurodon are awe-inspiring sea monsters, and it'd be such a thrill to see them under the water. But of course I'd need some protection, and the technicians and I have come up with this. This is a smell suit. Lipleurodon, they've got a really acute sense of smell, and we're going to use that to protect me. What we do is put a bottle on here, a bottle of noxious chemical, and if the Lipleurodon get too close, if things get a little hairy, I'll switch on this valve. There'll be an explosion of chemicals into the water. The chemical we're using is called putrescine. That's basically essence of rotting reptile flesh, and hopefully that will keep them away from me. So why did we decide on putrescine? Have a look at this. We did some field trials with young Lipleurodon in shallow water. We put the smell suit around a dummy, weighted it down, put it on the bottom, and you can see they're putting squid right in the suit. And that's to actually get the Lipleurodon excited, try to get a feeding frenzy, and see how they'll react to the smell suit. And now it was a matter of waiting. In the first experiment, inside the smell suit, there was a chemical deterrent that keeps sharks away, and we wanted to see what would happen with these reptiles. They're very, very curious about the squid. See the release of the chemical there? Absolutely no effect at all. You'd have had your head bitten off if you'd been wearing that. The next experiment, we filled the smell suit with putrescine. And let's see what happens here. There's still squid on the dummy. They know it's not a danger to them. Here they come. Here come the Lipleurodon. See that? The putresine's released. Another one comes in, mouth open, just gives it a whack. I hope it doesn't whack me like that. But hopefully that will give me some protection when I go in with the adults.
Two, 3, 4, 5.
As I thought, a Lipleurodon, perhaps even a pair of them, have come back to the carcass. We've lost the light, but that doesn't matter to those animals. They live in a world of smell. We've got light so we can see. It's going to be spooky down there, though. And I'm relying on the smell suit to protect me. The cameraman's got one too.
And we'll swing her out.
the film cameras in, nobody would believe me back at home. That's a cracking view of those teeth. They are so distinctive. That rosette of really sharp teeth at the front of the jaws there, they are like knife blades. They are piling into that fish carcass, slicing through the flesh of that lead-zichthies, and that short neck that helps them too to be more powerful. That's why they can twist off those chunks of flesh. Going to do, they're not paying any attention to me. That food is really keeping them occupied, so I think I can take a calculated risk. If they do go for me, I've got the smell suit, so I'm going to move in as close as I dare. Just 20 feet away from a feeding frenzy of some really ferocious sea reptiles, but I am petrified watching this. Wow, he's coming in so close. Ah! Thank heavens this smell suit works, but it's really time to get out of here.
Hold on, Nigel, you're not done yet. That was the second most dangerous sea, which means time to enter Hell's Aquarium, the most dangerous sea ever. It's just a short hop forwards from the Jurassic to 75 million years BC. Not long before a massive meteor plows into the planet and marks the end of the dinosaurs. That same cataclysmic event will also be the end of most of the sea monsters that we're about to meet.
A familiar sight on the coast of the Cretaceous. These birds are called Hesperornis. They are so vociferous, it's deafening being right in the middle of a colony. They're flightless like penguins, but they're far from as cute. Look at those dagger-like bills, and inside there they've actually got teeth.
But just to hold their own, Hesperornis, they have to be tough. They're around at a time when there are truly awe-inspiring predators. On the land there's T-Rex, and in the water, well, every time Hesperornis go on a fishing trip, they have to enter the deadliest sea of all time.
So why is this sea more deadly than the others? It's because there's not just one predator here, there's a whole suite of them. There's frightening sharks, terrifying sea reptiles. Even the fish in here, you couldn't imagine them in your worst nightmares. I call this Hell's Aquarium. It's so jam-packed with killers.
And this is where Hesperornis spend much of their life. They're amazingly well adapted for diving, with specially heavy bones to help them stay submerged. But few Hesperornis live to a ripe old age, because in this sea, there are so many ways to get eaten.
To the right a bit, to the right a bit. Oh my goodness. Keep going right. There's a real blood patch. Pass the periscope, please. With this, I should be able to have a peek into this blood bath. Hard to see what's going on there. It's such a flurry of activity down there. There's a shark gone right in the middle of the feeding frenzy. Don't know what species, there's many sharks in Cretaceous times. What is that?
That is one grotesque fish. It's more like a bulldog than a fish.
If the devil kept fish, this would be one of them. Xiphactinus, a predatory fish over 20 feet long.
There's a big one coming right at the periscope. It's got a Hesperornis in its mouth. Hesperornis there over 6 feet long, and it's swallowing it down in one go.
But there was something else in there that looked familiar, the ominous shape of a mosasaur. These I'd read about. They're the ruling class of marine reptiles in the Cretaceous. Their serpentine shape is no accident, as they're closely related to snakes, but they're far more ferocious and way, way bigger. This species near the coast is just a tiddler, a mere 10 feet long, but offshore lurk 60-foot giants. And that's where we were headed.
We're going into deeper water on our mission to find giant mosasaurs. We're actually sailing right over the top of Kansas, which sounds weird. This is the map of the US that we're used to seeing, but now in the Cretaceous, it's totally different. Look at that. The central United States are covered by a vast inland sea. I can't dive in that sea. Mosasaurs are much too dangerous. And up here, to give us early warning, the acoustic tracking device. And we've got cameras on the prow of the boat. This is the view from the forward-facing one. This is the view from the backward-facing one. If a mosasaur comes anywhere near this ship, we'll get views on video. But this is something we are particularly proud of. This is a remote-operated vehicle with a superb camera. It would be foolhardy for me to swim with mosasaurs, but we're hoping we can get this right alongside them.
We soon had company. With its huge size and characteristic crest, this could only be one thing. Not a bird, but a flying reptile called Pteranodon. They catch fish in these waters, but this is Hell's Aquarium, so occasionally the fish catch them. The next morning, we were in for a nasty surprise.
What the heck was that?
We hear something with a tremendous clunk. And look, it's the body of a turtle, like no turtle alive in the 21st century. It is huge. I think it's an archelon. And you can see, look, it has been bitten in two. And it's a shame. I'd love to see one of those that's alive. But it proves that we're in giant mosasaur country. Nothing else could have done damage like that.
And on we sailed through Hell's Aquarium, watching and waiting for giant mosasaurs.
Nigel, this is interesting. Check this out.
There's creatures, and they are going right under the boat. This could be it.
It's not a giant mosasaur. These are some of the most exciting of sea reptiles. I've always wanted to see these. Elasmosaurus, that was the front camera. And this is the camera facing backwards. Look what they're doing. They're riding our bow wave. They're saving energy just like dolphins do. Maybe these are migrating or something. You stop the boat!
We had to be quick, but this was a perfect opportunity to try out the ROV with its remotely operated camera.
Greg, they're not scared of it at all, are they? Right to the ROV. They're diving. Can you go deeper? They're coming really close. Look, this one's investigating. Look away.
Those small heads on those long necks may be a way to deceive prey. Fish would be frightened by those big bodies, but what the Elasmosaurus can do, they can sneak those heads right in the middle of a shoal and then strike. Gosh, a living Archelon, one of those giant turtles. I said that I couldn't dive in this sea, it's just too dangerous. But I've got to get in with that.
It's a bit risky going in here, but the ROV should be guarding me, keeping an eye out for any predators lurking around. And I just can't resist a ride on an Archelon. And he must come up again for air soon.
Where is it?
Nigel back peak. Better get him out of the water, there's something big on the tracker.
Okay, we've just got to find him first. We're on our way out. We've got to find Nigel, there's something down there.
Quickly.
Relief. Be back on here. Now tell them we're coming back. Ancient Mariner Nigel here.
How was your dive, Nigel?
It was a thrill to be riding the turtle, but at the end that was scary. We're on the way back now, Captain.
Okay, Nigel, over and out. There is what? Can you see him on the ROV, Greg?
The ROV had seen it all. Perhaps mistaking the boat for a turtle, the top predator of the Cretaceous had honed in on the crew. And if there's one thing worse than swimming with a 60-foot carnivorous reptile, it's swimming with its family. Giant mosasaurs often travel in groups to protect their young.
Move away from the boat, there's something under you.
They will attack and eat virtually anything that moves. Sharks, turtles, giant squid, even other mosasaurs. With 3 humans and an upturned boat in the water, they were spoiled for choice. So far, they were choosing the boat. Of the 7 deadliest seas of all time, this was the worst.
Everyone okay? Yeah.
And the worst was over.
That shook me up. There's still blood in the water there as well.
Almost.